Yo, what's good YouTube, man? It's Gary with another Fan TV, man. Back at you another video. Like the content of this video, go smash that like button. Like the content of this channel, go ahead and subscribe, man. Look, so the Ravens win the battle of the Beltway, 30-23 versus the Washington Commanders, right? In a game that felt like the Ravens could have won by a couple scores, right? You know, that was kind of my prediction that the Ravens would win by multiple scores this game, right? I would say this, Jane Daniels played a really, really good game. I think the Ravens made it easy on him in certain aspects of the game, but we'll talk about that, all right? But as far as stand-up performers, guys like that, I think we gotta start with well, we can start with Lamar Jackson, right? But we're gonna save that for last actually. So I will say this: Zay Flowers, right? Zay Flowers today, career high, 9 catches for 132 yards. He did most of his damage in the first half. The Commanders did what we expected them to do, right? A lot of too high, a lot of cover two and man coverage. Now, more exact on the man coverage, Zay Flowers absolutely killed the Commanders today. They could not stick with him one on one. The Ravens do a really good job of running Zay on a lot of runaway routes. Your slants, your overs, your crossers, things where he could use that speed and agility that he has to run away from the defenders, right? So that was a good game plan. Ravens are going to, I think as the season goes along, I think less and less teams are going to be encouraged to play man against the Ravens, right? Because guys like Likely, Flowers, Bateman, Andrews, they can all beat man-to-man coverage, right? So I think if everybody stays healthy, right? It's football. You never know what could happen. But if everybody stays healthy, teams are going to be less encouraged to actually run man coverage against the Ravens, right? Because Ravens have guys who can separate and get open. All right, and Zay Flowers did that this game, right? So to me, Zay Flowers showed that this is the kind of game, showed in this game where when I say things in the past, like when other Ravens fans I say it as well, is that Zay Flowers could be a wide receiver one. This is what I mean. He just needs the opportunities, right? If he played in a different offense that was more pass heavy, I'm not asking the Ravens to be, the most pass heavy team in the league. I'm not asking for that. But just in a different kind of offense, right? Zay Flowers, you can see his talents, right? So with this offense, it's like it's pick your poison, right? So some weeks, Zay's gonna have to be, a good blocker out there, right? Because Derrick Henry's going crazy. The running game is doing what it's doing, right? Like how it was in the Bills and the Cowboys game. Then you're gonna have games like Cincinnati and this one here, where we need the wide receivers to step up and make plays, right? And what do they do? Step up and make plays, right? So I said in the game preview that this game could be a big game for the tight ends just because of all the man coverage, and I think the Raiders will take advantage of that. It ended up being a big game for the wide receivers, right? So, and Mark Andrews didn't have his best game of the season again. So 3 catches, 66 yards on the touchdown. Rashad Bateman has his best game, 4 catches for 71 yards, right? Isaiah Likely gets 2 for 27. So the Ravens are starting to stack games in the passing game, right? The Ravens' best offense still is when they get under center because one, Derrick Henry likes to run under center, right? So you accommodate that, right? You get to your stretch, your toss, all kinds of things from under center that you can't really get to from out of shotgun and pistol, all right? But then off of that, you get the play action game, and Lamar Jackson has been amazing with the under center play action, right? Every time the Ravens do this, somebody's running open, right? And he's finding them with extreme accuracy, hitting the guys in the hands, right? So we saw that with Bateman, we saw that with Isaiah Likely. That continues to happen, right? So I still think that's the best version of the Ravens offense when they can get under center and really get the run game mixed in with the pass game. It makes this team really, really hard to defend, right? So I'm glad that we saw that. All right, I think the Ravens sometimes shy away from it and are in shotgun a little bit too much, right? I think Lamar might like shotgun. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Lamar might like being in shotgun. He's used to that. But I think when the Ravens are really under center, the full offense unlocks for this team, right? So to see a little bit more of that, and I'm also getting Derrick Henry on the edge, right? When Derrick Henry gets on the edge, unstoppable. All right. Then obviously Lamar Jackson, right? So back-to-back game, 300 yards passing, 20 of 26, 323 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception that wasn't his fault. It goes off of Mark Andrews' hands. First drive of the game after Zay Flowers takes a screen pass, 40, 45 yards. So after that, Mark Andrews, Lamar hits him in the hands, right? He throws it away from the linebacker. Andrews does have to reach for it, but that's because Lamar is protecting him and taking him away from contact. Andrews got to make that catch, right? He redeemed himself later in the game, get open a couple times, touchdown, things like that. We talked about that. But so really just the pick that wasn't his fault, right? So And 323 yards, you get the one touchdown, 115 passer rating. Just an all around really, really good game, right? So when the Ravens, this is what I'll say about the Ravens. The Ravens haven't had a bad offensive game yet. And that's a really solid thing, right? And it's not just the fact that they haven't had a bad offensive game, it's that they have to win games in different ways. They've won games where, okay, this is about the run game. They've won games where it's like, okay, we're doing play action under center. We're getting into some more of that stuff. They won games where, hey, listen, Lamar, this is straight drop back. We need you and the receivers to go out there and win the game. They have won games on offense in multitude of ways, right? Think about when we talk about the Ravens in the past, right? 2019, last year, the Ravens had to play in a very exact style to come out and win a football game. That feels different now, right? So hopefully that can that will sustain, and we see that more going forward, right? That no matter how the game flows, the Ravens are going to be in it, right? Look, you got Derrick Henry getting 132 yards today, and honestly, for a good part of the game, he's on the sideline with Justice Hill, right? With Justice Hill in the game, excuse me. So with Derrick Henry still getting 24 carries, still getting 132 yards, and Lamar Jackson getting 300 yards through the air, you can't ask for anything else, right? The Ravens are in a real, real groove right now on offense, right? And it's beautiful to see. All right, now for the defensive side of the ball, okay? We got to talk about that, right? This is what I'm talking about where they made it too easy on Jaden Daniels, okay? Multiple things, right? You know, I think I made a comment on Twitter. I said that, it was about halftime. I said, where's the Ravens pass rush at, right? And a lot of people were telling me, well, the Ravens are just contained rushing. They don't want to let Jaden Daniels get the pocket. He's the number one scrambler in the NFL. That's very true, right? And I know these things because I understand football, right? But at the end of the day, the Ravens, that wasn't why the Ravens weren't getting pressure. The Ravens weren't getting pressure because they were getting stonewalled up front. Like, let's be completely honest. Owe, Van Noy, these last couple of games haven't had the same amount of pressure up front. Travis Jones ends up getting a sack. They do a couple of stunts in the middle. But for the most part, Jay Daniels is sitting back there with no pressure. This isn't because the ends are containing. That's because they're not getting pressure, right? It can be a little bit of both, right? So, I'll say this. It can be a little bit of both, right? The ends could be containing, but also they're not getting pressure, right? You cannot let Jay Daniels just sit back there, 2, 3 seconds just because you're afraid of him escaping the pocket every single pass play. That's not how this works. Jay Daniels has shown a propensity to make plays in the pocket. So just keeping him in there and hoping that he makes an errant throw, that's not a strategy. All right. And so while I get that you want to be safe and contain Jay Daniels, you don't want him to escape. He really only escaped a couple of times today from the pocket. Rushing the ball, I don't think he did too much. He had 6 carries for 22 yards today, right? So they didn't really do anything on the ground. So I get that, right? But you have to be able to pressure the quarterback, especially a rookie quarterback. Too many times it was too simple and too easy for him. Okay. Also, Zach Orr, man, Zach Orr. I'm trying to be patient and understanding, right, about the game plan, but a lot of this stuff just feels like the Ravens defense has gone backwards, right? We're going into more Wink Martindale style where the best defense we have is we try to send everybody at the line and we're going to blitz everybody we have, right? Ravens give up a 4th and 12 because they send the house and Nate Wiggins gets a PI, right? Now, Nate Wiggins has got to be better than that, right? He's faster than every single receiver on the Commanders. He should just be running. I believe it was on Noah Brown. He should just be running with Noah Brown step for step. Doesn't need to hold him, tug him, doesn't need to do any of that. But at the end of the day, as a coordinator, you need to put your guys in the best position to win, right? And just the flat out that when it comes to third down, we all out blitzing. That's our strategy. I'm not a fan of that, right? And then on the back end, I'm seeing the same things every week. It comes down to the other teams about to line up, whoever they're playing, they're about to line up, and you still see the corners and the safeties in the back end. Hey, 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 like gesturing to each other. What we doing? Hey, hey, hey. It's too much confusion, and it's happening multiple times a game. Like it's happening far too often. I don't know what's going on in the secondary meetings with the safeties and the corners or whatever, but it seems like they don't know the call half the times, and you can see that when some of the coverages get busted, right? Also, another thing, The Ravens do not have good, are not a good enough team on defense to run as much man coverage as they run right now. They don't have the players for it. I'm gonna be honest with you, all right? Nate Wiggins is a rookie. He got beat across the field by Zach Ertz. That's just a technique thing. Zach Ertz obviously isn't faster than him, so that's just getting duped by a veteran. Zach Ertz had way too much space in the middle of the field today. Zach Ertz today, yeah, he was their leading receiver, 4 catches for 68 yards, right? So just too much space in the middle of the field for a guy like Zach Ertz, right? Roquan Smith, once again, was not good in coverage. But just sticking to the secondary, Brandon Stevens. Brandon Stevens, I think, made some plays today, right? But too many times, it's the same old story, right? Brandon Stevens has really, really good coverage skills. He is usually in the receiver's hip pocket. And that's great. I love that, right? I don't want a corner that's getting burnt all day long. He's 2, 3 yards away from the receiver. That's not Brandon Stevens. So that's great. That's one part of playing cornerback, excuse me. The other part is getting your head around and affecting the pass. And enough times Brandon Stevens doesn't affect the pass. Okay? I want to touch on Terry McLaurin, right? I'm not saying it's an easy play. You in the NFL. It's not going to all be easy, right? So when I make these kind of suggestions, don't say, "Oh well, it was a great throw." Listen, I know that, right? Jane Daniels put it on the money. I get that, but it's the same thing. Brandon Stevens is up there face guarding Terry McLaurin. He's all over him. If he could just get his head around, it's a deflection, and that's on a fourth down Ravens football. All right, and I'm not just picking on Brandon Stevens like he's the worst player in the Ravens secondary, but I get sick and tired of hearing about how he's so close in coverage. Oh, Brandon Stevens is right there. When you right there, make the play. There are plays to be made, right? So there was one earlier in the game. What did McLaurin have? He had 6 catches for 53 yards. It sounded like he did more than that. But I guess because he scored 2 touchdowns, it seems more impactful, right? There was another play earlier in the game when they went deep to McLaurin, right? Brandon Stevens get his head around, but he knocks the ball out right from McLaurin, right? Cool, right? Sometimes you don't get your head around, that will happen for you. But Brandon Stevens leaves a lot of interceptions on the table just by not getting his head around. Okay. Marcus Williams, once again, did not have a good game, right? I felt like the player who had probably the best game on the Ravens defense was Kyle Hamilton, was all over the field once again, hitting. Had a big time hit on Terry McLaurin. And honestly, I thought Marlon was pretty good too. When they threw the ball Marlon's way, he was locking up for the most part. I thought Marlon had a pretty good day. Most of the completions, I mean, we'll see, watch the film, whatever. It seemed to be Brandon Stevens and Nate Wiggins' way, right? I think Marlon had another good game. So when I look at this team right now, the defense is behind what the offense is putting on. The Ravens offense is starting to click and get into a nice little groove, right? They're throwing the ball, they're running the ball. It looks cohesive on offense, right? For the most part, right? They still got some things here and there to work out. But on the Ravens, on the other side of the ball, especially when we're talking about the passing game, it does not look good right now. All right, a passing defense, excuse me. It does not look good right now. Okay. Listen, at least the run defense is solid because if both things were bad, then we'll be talking about another thing, right? But at least the run defense looks pretty good. All right. But teams don't really have to focus on running the ball because passing the ball is kind of easy right now at the moment. So I'm glad the Ravens won this game, excuse me. But it's a lot to correct, it's a lot to get better on, right? Once again, like I said, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. So for the Ravens, it's a good win. It's a game that they should have won. It's a game that you were expected to win, and I'm glad that they won the game that they was expected to win, right? Because that hasn't always been the case, right? We saw what happened with the Raiders week 2, right? You was expected to win that game, and you did. All right, so we're not gonna take that for granted. The Ravens have won 4 straight games. They're sitting at 4-2. Good record. I believe next week is Monday night versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So keep stacking these games up, man. I will say this: um, Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels. We can just stop thinking. We don't have to make everything about comparing the two guys. Right? They both play good games. They're both great quarterbacks. But Lamar is in a class of his own right now. All right, he's playing like the best quarterback in the NFL. All right, Mahomes has had a dip this season, hasn't been that same kind of guy. Lamar has been elevating his game. So let's just let the rookie be the rookie. He's playing well, but Lamar Jackson is on another level right now. All right, so But that's my thoughts on the game. Give me your thoughts on the game, man. Well, you know, I'm part of all comments, but it's Gabriel, the Fan TV. I'm out.